This is the plaintiff, Michael Doherty. He says the defendant, a family friend, did some work on a classic 1965 Ford Falcon he owns, and he's sorry to say the guy botched the job. In fact, one could call it robbery, because the defendant didn't complete the work and is now refusing to return some of his money. He has no other choice, family friend or not, but to sue for the $1,500 he's owed. This is the defendant, James Hilditch. He says the plaintiff's complaint regarding his 1965 Ford Falcon has to do with the paint job, not the work he performed. He did introduce the two, knows the painter was frustrated with the plaintiff because the guy owed him money, but beyond that, he has nothing to do with it and is shocked he's the one being sued today. He's accused of being a drip.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant did work on his Ford Falcon and did an awful job, but the defendant says he did the job. It's the case of, have you sued over a Ford lately?
Thank you, Douglas. Michael Doherty?
Yes.
You are suing James Hilditch?
Correct.
For $1,500 that you want him to return to you, that you paid him in order to restore your car, and according to you, he did not do it. Tell me what is going on.
Jim was a family friend, and we became acquaintances, and he said he'd done body work before, and he was pretty good.
He was a friend, and then you downgraded him to an acquaintance?
Well, after what he did to me, yes.
Okay.
So Jim was in a band, so my son is into music, started following Jim, and they became friends, and they found out he was into cars, and he said, oh yeah, I want to take a look at it. Maybe I can do it cheaper than somebody else.
And what is it? What did the car need? What kind of car are we talking about?
It's a 65 Falcon convertible.
Okay.
Need minimal body work.
Can I see the contract that the two of you entered into in order to, let me see the contract.
There wasn't one. It was just like an agreement between friends.
Okay. It was what?
Like an agreement between friends.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
Not so good.
Here.
Right. That's where they work out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No emails, no texts, nothing that would tell me what the actual original contract was for?
No.
What do you mean by minimal body work? Define what you expected him to fix.
It was rust underneath the primer.
Okay.
So you had to sand it down, re-primer it, and get it ready for paint.
And he was going to charge you how much for that?
It would be under $3,000.
You didn't know how much he was going to charge you?
Not at the time. And he said he would need $1,200 for supplies and to get started on it.
Well, what if he later said, okay, that'll be $9,000? So you just gave him the car and gave him $1,200 and didn't know what the end game was going to be?
No.
All right, so you give him $1,200 and what do you buy with the $1,200?
Everything from the sandpaper, primer, tape, masking paper, everything, and the paint for the car too.
Okay, and so what kind of body work were you supposed to do according to you?
I know he's saying it's minor. It's definitely more than minor work.
Okay.
I do have pictures of it if you need to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. But tell me what work.
Right
I
here.
can't get anybody to answer the question. But tell me what body work you were going to do.
Like Mike said, the car was in primer for 20 years.
Right.
Had to be taken right down to steel.
Okay, so actually you are saying the same thing, that the body work that needed doing is to sand the car. All right, and did you do all this?
I got the car prepped for paint aside from one section that was under the passenger side right front fender that needed metal repair. And I just didn't have a MIG welder at my house that was strong enough to make the contact.
So did you tell him that?
Yeah, we had talked about it. The rest of the stuff would have gotten finished up over at Phil's, because Phil would come by and look at the car.
Wait, who's Phil?
Phil's the painter right here.
Oh.
He came with Mike.
Okay. Go
and
on.
he'd come by and looked at it, because all I could do, I'm doing this in my home, Your Honor.
So what were you going to charge him for this?
We had never even really set a price. I said, this is what I needed for
How do
the
you
things.
people prevent yourselves from being run over by trucks when you cross the street?
Plaintiff hired the defendant, a family friend, to fix his 65 Ford Falcon, and he claims the guy botched the job, but the contract was as sloppy as the job. They didn't even set a price. Let's listen.
So what I was going to do is I took the rest of my regular work time off and was just going to pretty much work on the Falcon during the winter. That was going to be the deal.
Except for that, according to him, the deal, which we can't look at because it's not in writing, is that it would be done by Christmas, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you give him $1,200 for parts, and according to you, you buy parts with that $1,200.
Correct.
When do you drop the car off? Do you remember?
I dropped it off November, October of 2011.
November or October? You don't remember when?
No.
It was October, Your Honor. It was the last week of October. And the car stayed with me through until the spring because being one person doing this as a hobby is not going to be done by Christmas.
Okay, so now in the spring, come on up. Yeah, what's your name?
Philip, Master Mario,
Philip what?
Master Mateo.
Master Mateo. Mr. Master Mateo, how did you get hired by him to do the paint? You were always going to use him for the actual paint, right?
No,
Oh. Who was going to paint the thing? Hold on one second. Who was going to paint the thing?
He was.
Oh, he was going to both prep it
He brought the car over to him. I didn't know this gentleman before.
What you're saying is he was always going to sub the painting to him.
Right.
Okay. Had you ever worked together before?
No, we had not.
All right. So the car was ready and prepped, right?
No. He was going to help him finish the body work there.
Okay.
Because like you said, he can only do so much in his own personal garage.
Okay.
It has no lighting.
And then
it's
what
small.
happened? So do the three of you arrange for that to happen or what?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Me
And
Mike
then,
drove
so
the
tell me
car
about
over.
that.
Correct.
I brought it over there. I met Phil. And what I understand is Jim was supposed to bring him paint and drop off some money, and he never did.
Okay. Talk
So-
to me. What was your agreement with the defendant?
with Jim, I met Jim through one of my customers. I looked at the car at Jim's house and gave him a rough idea on the cost. They brought the car over on a Saturday afternoon.
How much did you tell him you would charge?
Couple thousand.
Okay.
Jim said, I'll be back Monday. We'll set this thing up on payment, blah, 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 and what we need to do. We'll talk about this.
Because when did it become apparent to you that there was more prep work required?
As soon as you put some sandpaper on and find out that the primer that they used on it was a lacquer-based primer, which we don't use anymore. We use a 2K urethane primer.
Who's we? Who put a lacquer-based primer? Did you prime it?
I did, Your Honor.
What'd you prime it with?
The chroma base that I had gotten with the package that came with the high-performance white paint that Mike wanted.
The what kind?
Before I brought the car to Phil, he had changed his mind on the color.
The
Correct.
plaintiff had changed his mind on the color?
Correct. He originally wanted a high-performance modern white and then decided to go to a correct Wimbledon white from the era.
Okay.
He
Where's
changed
the
his
paint,
mind.
though? According to you, you
Never
never even
saw
got the paint.
I never saw it.
Never saw the paint.
Never saw it.
Never got
What I
smelled.
tried to
Where's
do,
the
Your Honor,
paint?
what I tried to do, Your Honor, was to try and bring it back to my supplier to see if they could maybe get some money back from Mike.
So you brought it back to the supplier has it and claims they haven't sold it.
Correct.
And they gave you no money back, even though they took it back.
No, they gave me a really good deal
Can I
on
see the
prices, you
paperwork
can see.
on that?
I didn't have a receipt from that. Your Honor.
Oh,
May I?
yes, Mr. Master
I asked
Mateo.
Jim, I said, he's telling the truth about the Wimbledon white to a high-performance white. So I said to him, listen, even if there is going to be a color change between a Wimbledon white and a high-performance white, which is brighter and yellower, bring me that paint. I will put that down as a base on the car first,
That
and
was
I'll only
never
have to buy
discussed.
2 quarts of paint instead of 4 quarts of paint. Never saw it. I never heard it. There was no more conversation with Jim and I since that point of the $1,000 to drop off and the paint to start the job.
It was never
2
a
weeks went
1,000.
by.
I'm sorry.
Never saw the kid. I called him numerous times. Went to his house. I went to the glove compartment of the vehicle, got Mike's address, and called Mike directly. He came down, laid it out to him. This is what we need to do. Sand off all this primer because there's all rust underneath the car. Redo this here. Etch prime it on bare steel. Urethane prime the car and paint it.
What primer did he use that he shouldn't have?
I think it was a DuPont-based primer. It's a lacquer-based primer.
And you can't use a lacquer-based primer?
We haven't used lacquer-based primer in this field since 1981. I've been doing this job since I was 16 years old. I'm 57 years old.
But so why did they sell him a lacquer primer?
You can buy it here and there as a hobbyist. Professionals do not use it.
What's Chroma Clear?
That's the clear coat for the high-performance white, Your Honor.
Where's the primer? ETGH.
Never heard the number.
Well, why are we
Etching?
saying that it's
Etching?
That's
etch?
not etching primer. ETGS, that's not etching
Etch.
primer.
Is that a lacquer-based primer?
I believe the one that they gave me was lacquer, yes.
And you're saying that hasn't been used in the industry since 81?
They took the lead content out of it because of all the EPA stuff and everything else.
Right.
In the lacquer-based primers.
And what did you want to respond to that?
That's completely inaccurate, and he never came to my house either.
Come back to the microphone and tell me your response to that.
I've been to Jim's house twice. First time to look at the vehicle. A week and a half into the vehicle, but he never showed up like he was supposed to. I went to his house. I knocked on his door after he never returned the phone calls to myself or my employee. He was supposed to bring me $1,000 and the paint.
What did you end up doing? Did you just have to order more paint?
Oh, yes.
Did you end up painting the car?
Yes, I did. Very happy.
Okay. Are you satisfied with his work?
Yes.
Okay. Who's that gentleman who keeps raising his hand who's here?
John Reardon. I'm a friend of Jim's, and while this was all going on, my car sat outside of Jim's waiting for Mike to get his car out of there. I saw the work getting done. I saw it getting primed. I saw it getting sand, and I saw the stuff go bad.
Yeah, but what do you mean the stuff go bad?
It got put in a car and brought to Phil's.
Yeah.
The paint is a special order paint. You can't bring it back. That's the problem. As soon
Well, then
as
just give it to the owner.
you know,
I was trying to help Mike out. We're
Well,
friends.
I
was just trying to
understand,
get
but
the-
then now it's
the
come
money
to
back.
fruition.
You know
It's
me,
not a week
that's why
later,
we're
it's a
here.
year later.
So, close friend of your family says, God, I want a job. Would you hire me? Would you hire him?
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
Too emotionally complicated.
Well, that's kind of an interesting answer. Who hasn't spoken? What do you think?
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
Because I don't want to ruin the friendship.
And ma'am?
No, I wouldn't,
Because?
because it might get complicated.
It's hard to discipline somebody who's really close, right?
Right.
There you go. Going inside the courtroom.
Do you understand what the problem is, or you don't get it?
I understand how it
The
looks.
problem is you have to either help him successfully or give it to him because you can't help him. But you can't be in limbo where you've got his money for the paint and you don't have paint. That leads me to believe what they believe, which is that you pocketed it. Because I see that you at one point bought it.
And it's not $1,000 from that paint, by the way, Your Honor. The
No,
quote
you're right.
Right there is exactly what I told them I would bring once I had the money handed back to me from the supplier. Not $1,000.
Now it's like 400.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the question becomes, the supplies that you did buy with his $1,200, did he get a value for it? The guy who you have picked as the painter, you picked him, which is kind of significant,
Correct.
says that you did a miserable job and that it had to be done over. How much did you end up having to pay him to prep it for painting, and how much?
Total job was $3,200, said and finished.
I would normally find out, okay, well, he agreed to do the whole thing for you for $2,500, and then I just do some simple math and figure out how much more it cost you, and that's your measure of damages. Why can't I do that in this case? Because you two don't even have an agreement about how much it was going to cost.
Right.
So I have an algebraic equation that's impossible to fulfill, except for one number, 3,200. That's the only number I have. Everything else I got to guess at. Well done, gentlemen. What's this about scuff plates and stone guards? Okay, what is a stone guard?
It's a filler panel between the front bumper and the grill, the lower grill panel.
What are scuff plates?
When you open the door, the plates that are right on the bottom hold the carpeting down.
Did you ever communicate with him, hey, these two things are missing?
Yes.
When?
Right after I brought it to Phil's.
And what did he say?
He says they should be at Phil's. They should be at the body shop.
Okay, can you prove that they're worth what you're saying?
I don't have receipt. Used parts, you don't get receipt. It's a cash deal.
Well, you get a receipt for the cash. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you get a receipt for giving cash to somebody. I mean, okay, my friend, here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
This is fun, but I'm done. I'm going to order the defendant to return to you $1,200 because the $1,200 represents the following: the paint that hasn't been turned into you when it belongs to you, and the supplies to do a priming job that you basically had to pay him to do over again. I find his testimony particularly compelling for the simple reason that not only do I find him believable, but also he's the guy who you picked. And I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of the $1,200. On the other two issues that you're suing for, I am not going to rule in your favor because I think with all the shuffling back and forth and you don't have proof of what you paid for, I just don't know. I'm not sure what to do with that. So $1,200 verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck, folks.
Thank you,
Thank you, Your
Judge.
Honor.
All right, so here comes the defendant after losing this case. How did it go in the courtroom, you think, for you?
I think she judged with what she had for information in front of her that way as far as it went, but the other extenuating circumstances that made me go with it the way I did.
What was it like to see the guy you chose on the other side of the courtroom testifying against you?
Didn't bother me one bit.
Didn't bother you?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Head right around the corner right here. And let's talk to the plaintiff coming out here. Finally, your car is all
Yes, it is.
finished up,
It
right?
looks good, yes.
Looks good? You like your car?
Yes, I do. After
right.
12 years. Looks good.
12 years.
12 years.
Well, why did this deal go bad? Why did it go wrong with him?
He's just a liar, and he got caught up in his own lies, and He started out as a favor, but
Family friend, right?
right.
Still a family friend?
No, I haven't talked to him since.
Okay. Harvey, what do you got?
You know, I got to tell you, especially when you're hiring a close friend or a relative, nail down the terms of the deal, of the job. The more of an ambiguity in the deal, the more chances are the relationship is going to blow up. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.